party shows clearly that following this decision by His Royal Majesty, the Oba of Benin, to build a royal museum, assuring the foreigners that this museum will be kept in a royal museum and will be very properly built to specifications, so there is no fear that they will be properly provided for and taken care of. That led to the idea of building a museum. Edo State Government, under the leadership of Your Excellency's predecessor, Governor Godwin Obaseki, agreed to provide the funding to build the museum. And this was well announced. His Majesty was happy, Edo people were happy, and however, the concerns of the Oba and of Edo people, started getting worried when the then governor decided rather build the facility in the place provided by the Oba within the palace ground. They decided to demolish the central hospital and construct the museum in the central hospital rather at the palace ground. They then had set up a special purpose vehicle, which was called Legacy Restoration Group, GCE, that limited by guarantee, that now gave birth to Edo Museum of West Africa. And from that point, it became clear that the then governor had different intentions. He committed public funds to the building, but chose to now change the registration of the company to Edo Museum of West African Art. Now, that act certainly sought to address one thing, to remove the word royal, so that the claim of the Oba will now be subject to contestation. But when you call it royal, then it's an indication that these items or this property belongs to the royal family. Now, on the basis of MOWAA, Edo Museum of West Africa Art, both local and foreign interests believe that this was now worth supporting. And to demonstrate good faith and to give confidence not only to the Nigerian public or the Edo people, but even to foreign interests, they registered the company as Edo Museum, and then proceeded to raise 800 million naira seed money from the treasury of Edo State Government and paid it in favor of Edo Museum of West African Art, MOWAA. But as the MOWAA started receiving donations from foreign countries, foreign organizations, and some local organizations, for example, the German government, then the German government donated, according to their record, over 4 million euro. Leventis, a foundation, donated about $1.5 million. Then another group donated $200,000. And Edo State altogether provided funding to the tune of 3.8 billion naira. Recall that the first seed money to demonstrate good faith and in order to give confidence to be donors was raised by the state government in the sum of 800 million. But between that seed money and precisely on the 6th of November 2024, when Your Excellency assumed office. 5 days to the end of Obaseki's tenure, Edo State Government again released 1 billion naira. That's right. That's 5 days actually, because the end of that tenure is 11th, and then the election of a new governor was on the 12th. So 5 days to time, he released 1 billion naira, bringing the total contributions or payment made by the state government to 3.8 billion naira. However, so this is 5 days to the time. But going through the documents from Edo State Government, Ministry of Culture, and the one provided by the MOWAA Foundation, we found that whereas the company was registered as a MOWAA Edo Museum, once they started and they had received those monies and they started the construction of the museum, they subsequently changed the name from Corporate Affairs Commission from a MOWAA to MOWAA. Now, the implication of that is that first, they remove ROYA. Second, having received the donation in the name of Edo Museum of West African Art, they now change, I think by 2020, earlier in 2024, they changed the name again from the Corporate Affairs Commission to MOWAA, thereby deleting the word Edo. So MOWAA stands for Museum of West African Art. So it has no, on the basis of the on its face value, the museum is now simply a museum. No, the name does not indicate Edo, it does not indicate any royalty or anything. So clearly the intention was to convert Edo State-owned facility, which is initiated and funded to the tune of 3.8 billion, and on the basis of which it attracted more donation. I think the clear intention was to now make it look like a completely private enterprise. And in the memorandum of understanding, curiously, the document they showed to us with regards to donations, everything considered was about, it will be less than 10 billion or so. But in the MOU, they acknowledged, that is, Mr. Ihanacho as executive director and the other MOWAA management board, they acknowledged that they had received in their award, and the statement is attached here, over 18 billion US dollars, 18 million US dollars, which, quote, they had expended to acquire land, clearing the land, and doing some archaeological excavation. Now, the source of this $18 million, the details were not disclosed. Now, we visited the place to look at two things: the nature of the facility on ground, and if any excavation, any archaeological work was done. We were satisfied that what they refer to as archaeological investigation was simply the normal foundation you do to build a solid structure. Rather than say they use it to build, they said they use it to do archaeological work. In fact, we met a gentleman who claimed to be an archaeologist, and we asked him, what did you find from your archaeological investigation and excavation? There was nothing. So clearly it is foundation they choose to describe as archaeological foundation so that they can justify the huge sums of money they had expended. Now, we toured around the facility, bearing in mind that Edo people felt scandalized that the hospital was demolished and the land was used to build a museum. Because it is those who are healthy, who are alive, that we visit a museum to look at the artifacts that tells a story about our history. Now, if you demolish a hospital meant to cure people who are sick, and no matter what you do or say, regardless of your social status, biologically, every human being from time to time requires medical attention. And as our population continues to grow, this demand can only increase. Regardless of the improvement in technology, human beings, not machines, we attend to people, and you need a hospital even to install the most latest equipment, including artificial intelligence equipment and all that. Now, that said, when we review the structure as we saw it, we realize that the structure is very solid. Much of it built with concrete. It will be impossible, practically, even to remodel it as a hospital. As we thought we will do during the campaign, we assure Edo people that it's either the facility will be demolished and the proper hospital will be built there, or we will remodel it and make it a hospital, because of the fact that that hospital that was demolished was built in 2019. It had 1903. It had a huge history behind it, and it was still functioning before it was demolished by the Obaseki's government. But after reviewing it, we had a meeting and we asked ourselves what we best serve public interest here. First, you cannot remodel it. Two, it will be the amount of wasting the funds, both the one paid by the Edo State Government and those who donated in good faith to support the building. Therefore, we came to the conclusion that the museum be allowed to stay, painful as it is that it has effectively replaced a hospital. I mean, by demolishing the hospital and building the facility. We then asked ourselves, going forward, have we established all these facts? What should be, what should the government now do with the facility as is? We were unanimous that the facility be given its proper name as conceptualized from the time the Oba started this campaign, namely to build a royal museum. And therefore, the way in which they change the special purpose vehicle, initially Legacy Restoration Trust, to Edo Museum of West Africa Art, and later to Museum of West Africa Art, but using the same instrument, vested in the Governor of Edo State Government being a continuum, that the name be changed formally to Benin Royal Museum of African Arts. Why did we choose this? Because these artifacts were looted from the royal palace of the Oba of Benin, based in Benin. And therefore, Benin should be included in the name, the royalty should be reflected in the name, but it can attract artifacts from everywhere in the world. So rather than limiting to West Africa, we saw sense in having a facility that can attract artifacts from any part of the world. That is why we thought we'd rather call it Benin Royal Museum of African Arts. Period. should Your Excellency find favor, if we find favor with this recommendation, we thought the next thing is, the museum is on ground. It is now a reality. We suggested that it should not be demolished, it should not be remodeled. But it has to be managed. Who should manage it? Knowing the challenge of public service and the fact that you do not build a madam bedroom if you have no wife. So Edo State Government does not own the returned artifacts. The intention of the government is to support the royal family, the Oba, to build a museum befitting the returned artifacts. So we thought the most honorable thing to do is for Your Excellency, in exercise of your powers, as the governor of the state, representing the people of Edo State, whose taxpayers' money was used to start the construction and subsequent additional payment, including the 1 billion paid 5 days to the end of your predecessor tenure, that you may consider handing over the museum to the royal family, as headed by Omonoba Edo Okpebholo Oba Ewari II, to manage it in good faith. Whatever else Your Excellency consider to do to aid the process of managing it, that can be done. So that if there's one lesson to be learned from this whole thing, is that a governor will come and go. A particular governor may be friendly, another governor will try to undo. So, but the institution that is permanent is the institution of the monarchy. The Oba, the rule of succession are clear. Just like listening to British people taking out of office, and they say they pledge their loyalty to the king and his successors. So, if he's handed over to the Oba of Benin, we believe nobody can protect the artifact better than the person, the institution that own it from where it was looted. So these are the key recommendations that we have made. However, because of financial issues, lack of transparency in the process, we recommended that Your Excellency may consider to appoint a competent audit firm to carry out forensic investigation with regards to the total receipt, because we didn't have access to the bank account of MOWAA to see, or a MOWAA, because it was actually a MOWAA where money was being received and donated and so on. But it's important to note, when we met with the German ambassador, for example, that what they did was to donate, not to buy shares. To donate is to give. And what is given, it is given. You have been gifted a facility. The Nigeria companies like Leventis Foundation also donated, both in the document of MOWAA management. The word donation was clearly used, not acquisition of shares. And what were they donated to? They were donated to support the construction of a museum initiated and funded by Edo State Government. So we think that if the scope is required, then look to in order to determine whether the funds donated were judiciously used on the project. We recommend that Your Excellency may consider to appoint a valuer and a quality surveyor to look at what is on ground in relation to the money they received and see whether or not Edo people got value for money. I think there's just one thing that is left. And that is that whereas they claim, this is very important, they claim to have spent 18 million, the word is over $18 million donated by various donors. Quote, they purport to have used this money first to acquire land. Now, from the record, we saw that having applied for the land, which was granted by your predecessor, and his CFO issued in favor of MOWAA, they subsequently applied to your predecessor to waive the fees. And that application was approved within 48 hours. So no kobo was paid for the acquisition of that land. And yet they claim to have spent over $80 million for land acquisition, among others. No kobo was paid for the land. And that is why we said we need to investigate. If you claim to have spent money on a facility that was given to you free, then we need to know who took that money.
When His Excellency was talking, it's as if I should joke, because everything I read on memos that were before me, I didn't know that you can articulate them the way they were on the memo. I want to say a very big thank you. I want to sincerely commend and appreciate members of the MOWAA committee for their excellent job they have done, and for the comprehensive report submitted to the executive, and your commitment, your diligence, and sense of responsibility are highly commendable. The quality of the report demonstrated shows seriousness of what you have done. We are so impressed and we are very grateful. On this note, I will wish to say that a further committee, so that we can have a white paper, which I believe most of you will also be part of it, and that will be fully involved with our Minister of Justice, so that your recommendation and the recommendation will not be turned into white paper. I have no doubt that the Royal Museum will come back to where it's supposed to be. It is our dream, and I worked vividly on a video clip where Obaseki said he was going to build the Royal Museum as a birthday gift to the Royal Palace. But to my surprise, dramatically, a lot of things started changing from one page to another page. Then finally, it ended up as MOWAA, that is Museum of West Africa. So I want to thank you for what you have done, the way you have articulated this report. Even a layman on the street will understand what you have just presented to me this afternoon.